Well, I'm now here with Lindsay Pattison, who is the global CEO of Maxus. Lindsay, thanks very much indeed for joining us. We've seen the results of the BrandZ Top 100 Most Valuable Global Brands. We've seen a number of brands increase their value over a consistent number of years. You believe that for brands to continue to grow their value, their relationship with the consumer, that brands really now need to take a stand. Why is that?
Yeah, I think there's some really interesting trends around brand purpose, and I think last year was a tumultuous year, and I think the changes in the political systems both in the US and in Europe have meant that people are looking for more. They're searching behind walls, and they're looking for not only their leaders to take stands, but they're looking for their brands to try and do something, almost to fill the void of leadership that we now see in the world.
Is that not a very dangerous thing for a brand to do? I mean, we've seen brands take a stand on, on sustainability, which is, in a sense, good for everybody, and there's some big global leaders, businesses who've taken a stand on that.
I think it can be incredibly risky, and we're here in early May, and we just saw the disaster with Pepsi recently, where they tried to take a stand and did it in a very ill-judged way, because you can't be trite about a brand purpose. And I think in the past what companies have done is kind of got away with greenwashing. They've stated about a brand purpose, but meanwhile they've been relentlessly about making money. And I think today, when we look to consumers, and particularly millennials, that terribly overused word, but when we look at Gen Y, the younger end of millennials, actually doing good in the world and feeling like brands have a real purpose. And also, of course, because of the digital world, being able to look behind brands means you've got to try much harder than that. Yeah, I mean, I think consumers want to have a voice, and I think they know they're very powerful. So the days of talking or telling people what to think or what to go and choose are long gone. I think brands that are doing it better, and again, very recent example that you could compare to Pepsi with Heineken, who put consumers with opposing views into, I don't know if you've seen it.
I have, yes. Yeah.
Into a room a bit like this, but with very widely divergent views, and then asked them to do some tasks together to have a conversation, and then eventually revealed their differences, and then said, look, do you want to walk out, or do you want to have a chat over a beer? So actually there was a purpose to that, and actually it linked back to the product as well, and I think that was incredibly smart, and it really, really resonated.
Now, what would you advise clients and brands who are thinking about, what should their sort of purpose be, or what should their stand be? How do they go about creating and developing that in a way that it's fit with the brand?
Yeah, I mean, it's a terribly overused word, but it has to be authentic to the brand. You can't just do a poll and decide what kind of cause you're going to go after. I think it has to have a meaning to a brand. So when brands are incredibly powerful is when passion meets purpose. So that's what brands should really look for, and that's when you're successful, because you're doing it because you're passionate about it and there's a real drive. The media world today allows us to be much more precise in targeting our audience, because we have so much data at our fingertips. We can understand much more in a much more nuanced way versus old-fashioned survey data, understanding how people truly think and believe. So I do think it changes it changes where we put that content, and crucially it would be in environments where there's always a return path where people can have a conversation, because that's what the brand is trying to do. But I think, my passion and my purpose has been female equality. So we created a program last year called Walk the Talk. We've taken 280 of our most senior women around the world on a program to understand any of our own limiting beliefs, any kind of internal barriers we're putting up to success. Because when we look across our industry, whether it's media or advertising or any part of comms, we just don't have enough women in senior positions, and then broaden it out into the business world, and it's even worse. So that's my passion and has been our purpose, and I think it was really important that the CEO has to stand behind it. And to WPP's credit, Martin has now talked about gender equality being the most important cause that WPP, and we've signed up to the UN Common Ground Agenda for gender equality and to try and achieve gender equality by 2030.
And how important has it been for you to bring the organisation with you on that? Because It's pretty easy, I suppose, for the CEO, global CEO like you to say that's how it's going to be. But presumably...
I'd love to think I had that. It was that easy and I had that
much
much control.
I'm sure you have that much control.
Yeah, it's influence, not control, isn't it? But you start with a business case. A better, diverse leadership creates better business decisions. People with diverse leaders on boards make better financial returns. So you can go back to the facts. And actually, really the crucial one in advertising on gender equality, you look at our consumers. We have to be reflective of the consumers that we are talking to. So that's both in the communications that we're doing. So how about men do the laundry sometimes, and women don't make all the decisions on makeup. They sometimes make car decisions, and they even take out bank accounts. I'm being trite, but women actually make the majority of consumer decisions. So if we are not
we're
talking
certainly doing
to
my
them,
household, that's for sure.
Yeah, if we're not talking to them in an empathetic way, then that doesn't make any sense for the business in which we're all involved. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Fantastic. Well, Lindsay, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.